Hey everyone, it's Ben Hardy here, and in today's video, I'm going to be going over what I have done over the last few years to essentially make my YouTube business recession-proof. Now, I know this is not what I normally post on this channel, but I figured with everything that's been happening, it's a good video to talk about. But speaking of recessions and saving money, if you want to save money the next time you purchase a car, link to my car buying guide in the description down below. It's more important now than it ever was before. And so, yeah, let's get into the video. So the first thing that I've done is basically kept my personal and business debt extremely low or non-existent. I figured debt would be the best thing to start talking about in today's video. So first off, I have, like I said, kept my business and personal debt either low or non-existent in different areas. So from a business perspective, I do have a business credit card, but I pay off the credit card in entirety every single month. It doesn't matter how much money I spend on the business, I pay off that credit card. I don't care what's happening. That credit card is never going to have a revolving balance on it. And so that's the first thing. And then the other thing from a business perspective is obviously the vehicle. So if you guys don't know, I have a 2021 Gen 3 Raptor with the 37 performance package. I have a 2021 Ram TRX, and the other vehicle that's not here that usually sits in this space is a 2022 Jeep Wrangler Rubicon 392 with the Extreme Recon package. It's over at Tron Auto Lab getting wrapped right now. You guys are absolutely going to love it when it's finished, getting its paint protected and everything. But the point I want to make with the vehicles is I owe no money here on the Raptor. I paid cash for the Raptor. The TRX was the last vehicle that I actually took out a loan on, believe it or not, for the channel. And I only owe about $30-something thousand on this roughly. The reason I say only $30,000 is this truck is, even in today's market where everything seems to be going down, still worth well over $90,000. Some examples are selling for over $100,000. I doubt mine would sell for over $100,000 right now, given everything that I've done to the truck, and I have like 14,000 plus miles on it. But the point that I'm trying to make is it's worth a lot more than the small loan that I have left on it. And then the Jeep that's not here, that one I also paid cash for. And so as you guys can see, if things got really dicey, really dicey, if I don't owe any money on this and I had to sell it for some reason, then basically, boom, cash out. And I doubt that the TRX, no matter how bad things could get from an economic perspective, would ever be worth less than what my loan amount is, $30,000. Like if a TRX is selling for $30,000, actually, I'm probably gonna go pick up a few because, yeah, that would be absolutely crazy if like clean title, you know, whatever, that would be crazy. And then for the Jeep, like I said, I don't have a loan on that either. So again, worst case scenario, I could sell all of the vehicles, get a bunch of cash, and that would be able to pay all of my bills, and then I could go and drive like a, I don't know, a Prius or something. But the point I'm trying to make is I have kept debt extremely low or non-existent, and moving forward on the channel, I'm actually no longer going to be taking out vehicle loans. That's kind of in the business plan. It makes sense from a write-off perspective, but then also obviously with this video, making it so the channel is recession-proof. And then from a personal standpoint, same thing with my personal credit card. I pay that off at the end of every single month. I use the credit card so that I basically can keep building my credit. And then I do have a mortgage on this house, but I put quite a bit of money down just in case crazy stuff happened with the housing market and all that kind of stuff, and it seems like the housing market is finally starting to calm down. So I owe a lot less on the house than what the house is valued at, even if the house took a massive depreciation hit because the market just slowed down a massive amount. And on top of that, you guys know that I am renting out the basement to two of the coolest people ever, Mr. John Jenks and, well, you guys haven't seen Juan on the channel before, but that also obviously helps pay for the mortgage, having renters. And so you can see I do a bunch of stuff to keep it so, or to keep my like cost of living down as low as possible to make it so the channel is recession proof. Now, the number two thing is holding off on certain expenses. So I'm not going to spend as much time on this topic, but there's just certain business expenses that I'm holding off on right now because I'm just waiting and seeing what happens. A really good example is you guys can see like the wrap on the Raptor has some imperfections. I didn't let the wrap fully cure when I first got it wrapped. It's the middle of winter, and so there's some bubbling on it. And the TRX has some imperfections too. Now, basically, I just have to order out a full roll of vinyl for the TRX and for the Raptor to not only fix things, but then have some extra vinyl just in case more things get destroyed and broken and all that kind of stuff. But I've held off. I've just been driving both the trucks like they are because it's like I don't really care all that much. And you know, a full roll of vinyl is like $600-700 roughly for these pickup trucks. And so it's not like a crazy, from a business perspective, that is not a huge expense. But again, I've just been holding off because I've been waiting to see what happens. And that's kind of another thing that I've been doing is there's a lot of things that I could be spending money on personally and also from a business perspective that I've just been holding off on and waiting to see what happens with everything from an economic perspective before, diving in and spending a little bit more money. Now, the number 3 thing that I have done is diversified my income slightly. What I've been doing over the last few years is basically diversifying the income associated with the channel. When I first started the channel, I only made YouTube ad revenue on the main channel. I have a second channel now that also makes YouTube ad revenue. I have a Facebook page that also makes, Facebook ad revenue. I do sponsorships every so often. I have the car buying course. The car buying course, by the way, is the least profitable thing that I do. So it really is just to help people out. But the point that I'm trying to make is I've been slowly increasing income sources associated with the channel to obviously increase stability associated with the channel. And then from a personal perspective, I have been investing in stocks and cryptocurrency. Now, I never take out any profits with those because I live so below my means that I don't need to take out profits from that. I think it's interesting that people will do these investments to then go and buy stuff. I don't have that mentality. My mentality is just to throw as much money at it as I can manage that makes, logical sense. And, if for some reason things got really bad, then it's okay, well, I have extra money over here that I could pull from, but I really don't want to. That's not the plan. But I am making money from those sources, so that is technically more income streams. So that's just another thing that I've done with the business, and then from a personal perspective. And then obviously, like I said, renting out the house is another thing. And so I've tried to diversify myself. I cannot talk today as much as possible. Now, the 4th one that isn't as exciting to talk about is emergency funds. This is something that you will see on every single finance channel ever on YouTube. It's set up an emergency fund, set up an emergency fund, and it's a smart thing to do. Now, I have had an emergency fund for years now, but I've just slightly beefed it up over the last few months. The reason I've done that is, just in case there's a really good buying opportunity from a vehicle perspective, or, from a not as exciting for me stock market or cryptocurrency perspective, then I'll have a little bit of extra cash to deploy in those situations. Or if for some reason, all of my income sources get wiped out, then I have a little bit of extra time to obviously find new income sources. And so, yeah, like I said, not as exciting, but it's something that I have always maintained and will continue to maintain because it's just nice to have that slight safety net. And the way that I look at it is just it gives you time, because if for some reason, if you're working a regular job, if you get laid off, or if you own a business and your business goes under, that amount of money gives you time to figure something out rather than having to do something that you don't want to do because you just have to make money, right? Now, the 5th and final thing, which is the most important in my personal opinion, is I have set up my business in a way that makes me indispensable to the people that I technically work for. So we're filming this last point like this because my camera arm got tired, and I just got back from the gym, so you guys got to give me a little bit of a break. But I have made myself indispensable to my quote-unquote clients, which is dealerships and now the automakers. But I do want to focus more on the dealership side of things because automakers, frankly, I love them, but they only make up about 5% of my total business from a review perspective. Because if you guys look at my channel from a week-to-week basis, I have 1 or 2 videos with press cars on the channel, right? Typically 1, sometimes 2, like I said. And then I have 20 plus videos on dealership cars every single week. And so the majority of my business is still with dealerships. And what I've done is I've made it so that my business is free for dealerships to use. I go and film cars for dealerships completely for free. I didn't always do that. When I first started the channel, I did charge a little bit of money, and it limited me a massive amount. Because what was happening is dealerships were like, okay, we only want you to film these few vehicles this year, and that's it. And I instantly saw the writing on the wall. I was like, I cannot continue to do this, because I'm only able to film, 3 cars a year or 7 cars a year. I want to film 20 plus cars with that brand, right? I want to film every single model. I want to film every single package that I can possibly manage, right? If I'm awake, I'm trying to film car reviews. And so I instantly, after I did it for a little bit, and then I just ditched it. I'm like, you know what, I'm done. And so the dealerships that, were paying me a little bit, I'm like, guess what? I'm going to do everything for free now. So you're not going to pay me any money. And I want to film more cars. I just want access to cars. And so that obviously helped me scale up my business to, what it is today, where I'm able to post a ton of videos and I'm able to make a living off of it. But, you know, if we jump back into the recession topic side of things, then there's no reason for an automaker or for a dealership to get rid of me from a partnership perspective, because it doesn't cost them, well, the automakers, it technically costs them a little bit of money because they have to get the cars out to Utah because we don't have a facility out here yet. We're working on that. Hopefully in the future we get enough journalists out here in Utah that we can do that. But, you know, on the dealership side of things, it doesn't cost them anything, right? Because all it is me going in, filming their car, posting it on my YouTube channel, and letting people know where that car is. And then also that dealership, right? Their website, it drives traffic to the dealership and it drives traffic to the dealership website as well. And the thing that's really cool is if we actually are in a recession, or if we go into a recession, my business will be even more valuable to these dealerships, because again, dealerships are just like any other business where if things get tough, right, you start laying people off and you start spending less money on stuff like advertising. And so if they're spending less money on advertising and someone's willing to advertise for them for free, then I'm going to be even more valuable. And so they're going to want me to film even more cars, which obviously would help expand my business even more so. And so I've really like fine-tuned this and set this up so that, you know, when the economy's good, then obviously I'm making more money because advertisers are paying more on YouTube and on Facebook, and there's more sponsorships and all that other stuff. And, you know, when the economy's, you know, not so good, like what happened when COVID first hit, I'm still able to make a living and do what I need to do because I'm kind of like this indispensable thing to the people that I work with, because it's like, oh, nobody's coming in. Hey, Ben, come film our videos so you can, you know, get people to come into our store versus the other stores here in Utah and the surrounding states, of course. Now that is the 5 things that I have done to basically make my business recession proof. And, you know, I obviously, you know, like most people, don't want us to go into a whole like hardcore economic downturn and all that kind of stuff. Like nobody ever wants that. But at the same time, recessions don't scare me like they used to because of how I've set up my business, and I see it as a big opportunity, right? You have people in the stock market that are always, you know, buying the dip, and same thing with cryptocurrency now, right? Buying the dip. And I see a recession as a chance to buy the dip from a business perspective, because I promise you, there are going to be certain auto journalism outlets that will go out of business because their expenses are way too high. They have way too many employees. Or, right, they'll just not go out of business, but they'll have to cut a bunch of their staff, and so they won't be able to produce as much content. And since I have a crazy amount of energy and somehow can still run this by myself, sometimes I wonder, I'm like, how am I able to do this sometimes? But since I'm able to do that, right, I will just keep, you know, being the workhorse that I have been over the last few years, and keep just pumping out content like crazy and just increasing my, you know, market share in the review space, basically. I want you guys to let me know what you think about this. And I guess if you have an automotive channel, maybe you should take some tips. Hopefully it'll help you guys out, and I'll see ya.